Trigger warning. This episode may contain content that could be distressing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the New Earth podcast, recorded live from our vibrant New Earth cafe. Our surroundings are filled with authentic sounds and real actions, left unedited to preserve the genuine atmosphere we embody here at New Earth. So, absolute pleasure to have you here, Jelena.
Thank you.
You've been to our New Earth cafe a few times. What do you think of the place?
Well, let's say first 2 times, or I have been here every single day for last year. So
That makes 2 of us.
I would say this is my home. This is my community. And firstly, I love what is the community all about. It gives you the essence of your own heart. It gives you the essence of authenticity and feeling like we spoke no facade. It's just I come here with my flip-flops and my dog, and I just no makeup, no nothing, and I just chill out with everyone around. Yeah.
You say no makeup, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Well,
So,
today I have for you.
well, you know, you're going on TV,
Yeah.
TV-ish. It's going
We're
out there
trying
to the
be
world.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, we can uncover what that really means,
We're
can't
gonna
we?
definitely go into
Because that's quite a thing when you're in Dubai, the
Yeah.
place where significance and comparisons is what can keep people in a bit of a trap.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I would say like any country and any, I can say, yeah, thank you so much. Any country has its own different vibrations or different experiences.
Yeah.
And again, every country can give you exactly what you are at the moment.
yeah.
So, what is within you in this stage of life? What are you experiencing as, emotionally, mentally, physically you're going through? This is exactly what you're going to see outside.
Yeah.
Because Dubai can be that, but it doesn't need to be. Because I've been here for the last 13 years. And I would say when I came here as a young child, I seen those sides because I think I was there as well.
13 years.
Yeah. I was
Wow.
here end of 2011.
Wow.
I came really young. I finished uni and I just got my, university dissertation and I came here very young.
Okay.
So I think in those moments you just kind of want to, put that personality of like, okay, who am I? What am I for? What am I giving? What are my gifts that I can actually serve? How can I grow from here? And I think that's the stage when you understand, okay, I don't know who am I, but let me find out. So that's the journey when it starts, okay? Everything I see in front of me and whoever is in front of me is exactly who is telling me more about myself. So any trigger I have, every emotion I have about something that someone said, any situation that I ended up with, is that with the money, without money, in this apartment, with the furniture, no furniture. Did I choose to live with the 5 people or myself? Do they choose to work 15 hours a day or no work? It's all your choice. So depending on your choices, you're going to actually experience Dubai or Australia or Serbia or somewhere else, exactly what is there. So if I'm unhappy within myself and I don't know who am I, I'm going to be lost within myself. I'm lost outside. So I will try to fulfill myself because I'm not fulfilled within. And I will fulfill myself with the makeup, with the jewelry, with expensive things, to show people my worthiness because I don't see it from within. And that's a hard thing to grasp because till you don't start their journey, you will never be able to understand the outer world that is actually a representation of your own inner world.
Absolutely. A man that doesn't go within will go without.
Yes.
And
And when you say that, when you go without, you get so lost that you don't even know what is, the essence of your soul. That's when it says like, you lose your soul because you give to everything and everyone outside of you that you lose yourself on the end.
Well, they say you have to lose yourself to find yourself.
Oh, 100%. Oh my God, I believe that 1,000,000%. That is so true. You definitely do need to lose yourself.
And I think, it's those who are most lost, the souls that seem to have escaped the light the most. When they do find it, they're the kind of people that appreciate it so much more that they're able to take that light and make a bigger impact in the world.
Amen to that. I agree. And that's where the light comes from. The light only comes to you when you're in the darkness. Like you cannot see the light or share the light or be the light or be the love or share the love if you were not in the darkness. Like deepest core of your darkness. Like on your knees, kneeling down and not knowing what's the next day is going to bring you. Like literally kneeling down in humility, please God help me. I have no clue, I have no answers, I don't know who am I, where I'm at, but please, I know there is something bigger than me. I know you exist, and I know this is the only way I can actually come to you, to the light, is on my knees. That's it.
Yeah, humbling yourself and going, I don't know.
Yeah.
Opening the space for something else bigger than myself to come in, because who I have been up to this point,
Didn't work.
it certainly didn't work. Well, it worked to get you to that point, in it depending on your perspective. But at that moment, you feel as if your whole life doesn't make sense, that everything is random, that there is no purpose, there is no love. Everything that is the opposite of what there actually truly is, you have to go through to then invite the opposite in. Because the world, the universe, works in the universal laws of duality. And on that note, let's have a wellness o'clock shot.
Turmeric. Cheers.
Cheers.
To New Earth.
To New Earth.
I love this. There's a pepper inside as well.
Yep, that will do the job. Cheers again,
For
everybody.
immunity.
That's the wellness o'clock. Come on down. And that will get you better than the turmeric latte, I can tell you. That would have been an interesting choice.
I still prefer turmeric latte for my long days on Sunday where chill out with my dog.
I hear it. You know what? It's something about the anti-inflammatory properties. Because you're in health.
Yeah.
This is what brings you on. And this is your speciality. You've been doing it for so long. What is that journey that's taking you from where you were to come to Dubai, to get into the health, and then to lead you to the place where you called upon the higher power to step in?
Beautiful question. I think, sometimes people ask me, how I got into the health, and that started when I was really young.
Mm-hmm.
I think I grew up definitely in a country that is very sporty and very athletic. Definitely we do eat, everything, bread and meat and pork and everything. But I actually had internal journey when I was a really young child with a spiritual realm. So for me, I had predictions when I was younger. So every dream I would predict. So I was mostly living in a realm that was not even physical, and only my mom and my best friend knew that I would lay upon every single night and I would have spiritual experiences. So for me, I didn't understand that. I was scared of it. I didn't understand how the world works. I didn't understand why am I the only one who predicts things. I'll wake up the next day and I said to my mom and dad, Mom, singer Toshe, Macedonian singer, very famous. He came to my dreams last night and he told me that he died in a car crash. And she said, yeah, it's just a dream. My dad came into the kitchen, pulled her hand, and he said, look into the newspapers. He died that morning.
Whoa.
So these are just the one experience, but, my best friend mother dying, I knew exactly that morning when I came to school and everyone was crying and she wasn't there, that she died. We didn't even know she was battling with cancer. We didn't know anything about her story, but I just knew when I woke up, I had a dream about it. My best friend's grandfather, who was living across me as well, I had received a message in the morning. I had a dream that he's dying. So these are the things that I knew that God, called me upon to have, but I didn't understand it.
These premonitions.
Yes. I had no clue what it meant. This was my normal life. So, of course, growing up, you just don't want to feel that. You feel like, I wanted to be a normal person.
Yeah, you don't want to be an outside feel.
Yeah, I just felt isolated. I couldn't too much, I can say there was a couple of friends, definitely, they were just like, okay, let's go and explore that part. Because they were as well kind of like a feeling these senses, but that's where I went into sport. I was 15 years old when I had my first personal training session with a personal trainer. I was 15.
Wow.
Before that, I was dancing for 7 years. I was in gymnastics from when I was 5 years old. So I was really active, and I felt that was grounding my spirit back into my body. So more I was active, more sore I was, more muscles I felt, more my heart I felt, more I was in my body grounded. So I got addicted to training. I got really into like, I just love this. I'm so passionate about it.
The release of endorphins
Yeah,
and
oxytocin.
you can get
and-
addicted to the chemical release of the body. I've been down that road myself, and I remember coming down if I wasn't exercising from the drug releases from. I was going 3 times a day at some point.
Yes.
It was absolutely insane. So I relate.
And we can talk about it because that was my escape mechanism, because I just wanted to escape that. And that's how we developed some certain defensive mechanisms as well. How do you eat? You know, how are you a binge eater? Are you eating emotionally? Are you overtraining? Are you overworking? How you're escaping your emotions, or how you're escaping your reality that is not at the moment something that you understand, you emotionally cannot comprehend, and you cannot emotionally actually release it. You don't know how to actually release that emotion, or to understand the lesson that whatever is this teaching me, what is the lesson? So you want to escape. Is that escaping through overworking out? That was my escape. I felt more sore I was, less I felt that I'm in spiritual realm. That was the case. So for me, understanding that this was my escape, I just continued doing it. But I became passionate about it. So I started learning from my trainer. He was amazing. He was a professor on the University of Sport. So I was learning from him everything. And that time in Serbia, we have different high schools that you can choose, meaning you can apply for. So I applied for law high school, 4 years of law high school. But because I went into feeling so good after my workouts and eating healthy, and of course you start looking healthy, you look great. I start, hang out with the people who are competing in fitness, and that was my journey of like competing for a national team of Serbia in fitness, and that's where everything started. And I started my health journey. And when I was 18, I said to my dad, Dad, I can't go to law high school. I have some internal feeling that I need to go into health and fitness and sport or nutrition or something like that. He went crazy.
Really?
Like, what you gonna do with that? Like what? What you gonna do with that? You need to be a lawyer. What you gonna do? How you gonna work? That in that time, that concept of like being a health practitioner was not even understood, because no one need health. Like, what do you mean? Like, you have doctors, they give you medications, and there you go. That's it. So it was not understandable in that time when I was 18, 19 to go into holistic health and understand, how the physical activity impacts your hormones, your neurotransmitters, how it impacts your blood sugar, how it impacts your cortisol. What is diabetes? What is hypertension? What are the blood tests you need to look at? How the blood tests can help you out with your lifestyle? How you can read functional blood tests? So these were all things that, you give it to conventional doctor to actually give you medication for the symptom, but not for the root cause that is happening underneath that symptom. So for me, that was my passion. My dad took everything from me, and he was like, nah, you're not going. He was like, no. Or you're going to apply for something that you're going to have a job in, so you can apply for a job and work 9 to 5, or you're not going anywhere. So I said, okay, let's speak to my mom. I said, listen, how about I apply for 2 unis, and then God will tell us where I belong. Yeah. I was passionate about languages. Obviously, now my English, my first language, but it's my second. I speak Serbian, I speak English, and in that time I was speaking German very well. So I said, you know what, I'm going to apply for language university, become a professor in languages. But in the same time, I'm going to apply for health, medical, and sport university in the same time. So I was studying for both universities to apply. So I went first test to apply for to become professor in languages, and I applied for another one, and of course I failed German in the languages university, and I was like, well, that's not meant to be, and I got into medical and sports university.
Where was it?
In Serbia.
In Serbia, okay.
It was 2008 when I started.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Okay, and then so from that place, you went there, you committed to it?
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay.
I did my dissertation in prenatal health and wellness. It was the most beautiful experience in my entire life of health. I first applied on all my friends. My friends at that time was pregnant. So in that time, pregnancy and wellness was kind of like, well, what are you going to do with them? They're pregnant. They just need to lay down and do nothing. And I was like, no. Let's dive deep into that. What are the neurotransmitters that are happening there? We have oxytocin, we have serotonin, we have acetylcholine, we have GABA. With those neurotransmitters, most of the time we have hormones like cortisol, we have the insulin, pre-diabetes in pregnancy, we have high cholesterol in pregnancy, we have, because of insulin, we're having roller coaster of insulin, we're dropping down in energy, and the vitamins and minerals are actually going to be depleted if we're not having enough macronutrients in the diet for the baby and for the mother. So the mother goes like, well, I don't need to do anything. I'm going to just relax and do nothing. But that's where actually I came in and I was like, no, we're going to change this. In functional medicine, you need to have an optimal health. And optimal health is just not understanding your own functions. Is your relationship with yourself in that time close? How are you thinking about yourself? Are you criticizing yourself? How are your thoughts and emotions about yourself? What is the fear you have? So these are all questions that I had with my dissertation when I was finishing it. So that's how it started.
Okay, so you got into this health journey. What is it that got you to Dubai?
So once I finished my uni, I opened up my own health practice and I had my own women.
Yeah.
It was a very personal, I had a couple of ladies in the same time that I was, measuring, and I was doing their own analysis and everything. I wanted to experience more of myself.
What do you mean by that?
I felt I came to the point of growth that I couldn't grow anymore in Serbia.
Okay, so you reached your
So,
capacity in Serbia.
yes.
How old were you then?
That was 22 years old, 23 when I finished
Okay.
uni, something like
Okay.
that. And that year, exactly when I received my diploma, I just felt internally that there is stuckness. Like there was like something needs to break and change.
Okay.
I'm very intuitive.
Yeah.
So I feel when it's like time for growth, when it's time for that cocoon to be open, for the butterfly to go out. And I always knew when that time comes in, I need to act. If I don't act, I suffer and everyone around me suffer. And there was points till I didn't learn that I actually need to act upon it where I suffered and other people suffered with me.
Yeah.
Because if you get a calling to grow and to come out of your comfort zone, is that your country, is that your job, is that your, whatever you're going to at the moment and it's your comfort, but you become stuck and you have a calling to actually break that into something new that is just developing, but you don't know what it is. If you don't act upon it, you start subconsciously lying to other people. You start subconsciously doing things that you don't even want to do anymore. You become so inside, you become a rock, but you don't know what is going on. It's just calling a time for your growth. So once I understood that, I cannot not go against it. Because it's more painful to stay there than to move forward.
Well, you know what? Many people do stay there, right?
Yeah.
And, it's amazing that you have that feedback mechanism kicks in, that you feel that you're solidifying, as in you realize that if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And how do you know that feeling? So somebody's watching and listening to this, from your perspective, what does that look like? How does that feel?
It's a feeling of growth or a feeling of that stuckness. I see a lot of people, and my clients as well, when they come to me, it's like they say, this is what they say. I feel I'm tired. Like that's the feeling. I'm just tired. Like it's like everything is on top of me. Like, and my kids and my husband, my mother and my father, and I feel like everything is here and I feel stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired, I'm stuck, I'm heavy. I don't recognize myself in the mirror anymore. They feel that that's not them anymore. So you become, you kind of, they cannot even discern who you are anymore. You feel lost. That's the feeling. And that is the feeling of growth. I know it doesn't sound like it, but that's the feeling that can wake you up to say, there is something that you need to do and you're not doing it. And I will tell you something, if you don't do it, you're not only gonna die internally with your soul, but your body is gonna deteriorate. You're gonna start becoming unhealthy. You'll start emotionally binge eating because emotion comes in. You don't know what you need to go towards, so you eat junk food or you don't eat. The sympathetic nervous system comes in, you become numb, or your gut closes, you become so stressed out, you have insomnia, you cannot sleep, you have anxiety, you're overthinking, and you become inflamed in your body. And then what you're gonna do after? Well, I'm depressed.
Here, take a pill.
What happens after that? Because of that, I'm gonna go to the doctor. They do all the blood tests. This is the feedback I get every single time. Everything is fine with you. Blood test is perfect. This is the time when they're lost. It's like, I went to the doctor. I have all these symptoms and imbalances. I don't feel good. No one understands me. What's wrong with me? That's the point where you're like, I have no clue.
Which is it's a beautiful mechanism.
Yeah.
That actually shows up, because when we look at illness and disease, there's an idea that all of that and the symptoms is a bad thing.
Yeah.
When there is no such thing. There's no such thing as good. There's no such thing as bad. Everything is a feedback mechanism to bring us back into balance.
Yeah.
So, and I remember hearing it recently that, and I've mentioned it a few times because it's about health, that disease is a feedback mechanism to bring us back into equilibrium.
Yeah.
Because we have distorted perceptions, and with our distorted perception about moments and events in our life, disease and the illness is amalgamation formed within ourselves that show up to go, why is that there?
Yeah.
So it's leading us to actually find out the meaning of life.
So true.
Because this is a feedback we're getting to show that where we're disbalanced,
Yes.
where our perspectives are disbalanced. Because if we don't have something within or on the out,
Yes.
leading us back into equilibrium, then we can find rather dire consequences of that fantasy, and even maybe going towards the infatuation or resentment.
Yes.
Pride or shame. Everything within the universe works in dualities. So I've been learning this and understanding, going, okay, we're changing the whole paradigm about how health really works, because it's not just a matter of taking a pill and going to the pharmacy or going to the doctor and having them tell you something, when their capacity of actually learning what health is limited based to a book that has been regurgitated from one person to the next from God knows how many years ago, where we're now stepping into this paradigm where actually the new earth, from a different perspective, going, actually, we're the ones who are manifesting our own illness and disease. So if I've built this and created this, then obviously we can uncreate it. As in, how do I get to the place to love whatever this virus, bacterium, illness, whatever it is that's within me? How do I get beyond the condition to love that part of myself that needs love? So what is that showing me on the outside? What is that reflecting to me right now? And once we do that and not look at being the victim and blaming the illness because it's a story that we can hold on to, then we can get sympathy, or we might get things. It's a strategy, right? And when we let go of that and go, how do I empower myself then to take responsibility for my life? Oof, you know what? That may be harder. I may as well go with the story and carry on getting what I can get from an illness or disease or the stress of something, because some people stay in the story and then they can connect to people over it. So they come to you, and I don't think they're going to be able to connect over it to that degree. I think you're going to be there to say, okay, I hear you. Let's bring you back into balance and help them ultimately overcome this wall. Yeah. Like the caterpillar, the caterpillar is inside, metamorphosis, the wings it needs to be tight to actually train the wings to be strong enough to take flight.
100%.
But the struggle is real. When your spirit, when you're expanding, when you're going through ascension symptoms, that soul inside you is too tight. You don't know what to do with it. Yes. And once you understand that and say there's a release, rather than waiting for death, as Ram Dass said, death is like taking off a tight shoe. But if you can feel that whilst you're alive and step into your power, yes, it's scary because everybody else around you is going to go, whoa, I didn't know you were that. Well, no, that's not, you're not supposed to be that. My view is you're this or that. And suddenly you're living by everybody else's injected values rather than living by your own. But it's just getting to that place of awakening.
Yeah.
to understand it.
And talking about it, I think the biggest thing is just, being compassionate. How can you be compassionate when people are going through that as well? It's, one thing is that, yes, we all need to take responsibility. But what I found as well is like when you are in that, stage of darkness, the only thing that can help you is someone to go in darkness with you for a little while, even though that one is in the light. But because I've been through darkness already, I can hold a space for them.
You trust your light to be in their darkness.
Exactly.
That you're not going to get lost in their darkness, lost in their story, fall prey to their victim state. I get it. Like, this is where, like, kindred spirits, I see you because you've been in your place of darkness and you found that light that you can go, I trust myself to go.
Yeah.
I think the Buddha said that someone of that nature said, like, drop me in hell and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it is ultimately that. When you approach somebody who is going through hell, I mean, some people do not want the help. And I've had people like that who just want to stay in their hell and just do not want to hear.
Yeah.
And that is scary for them to go through something like that. But those who are willing and who are seeking, that's when they find the light.
In the same time, those people who are maybe not ready to maybe ask for help or to go to the other side, I know it sounds hard to even do that, but if you can't help them, God will help them. You don't need to worry about it. Because when you meet God, you know how His unconditional love. He loves you to the point that you cannot comprehend that love. It's so overwhelming in your body that you cannot but just cry. That's how much He loves you and how much He loves me and how much He loves Him. But you need to go to that dark point, sometimes yourself, so you can call upon God. And only He can help you. Because yes, there are people who are half-half, and they can see maybe I can join into their darkness and pull them a little bit up above, but I'm not healing them. I'm just showing the path of God. I'm not God. I'm not a healer. But I've been down there. Where have you been? I know how it is. But let me just show you that God exists. Because God saved my life.
Share us your story. Because at the end of the day, you've got this story, and as we do, and obviously it's a story that's okay to be told because you've seen the other side of it.
Yeah.
That you now come out into this end. So if you're happy to share, what's that story that you got to that point?
I would say it's a very long
And
story
you
yeah.
catch every
Thank
part
you.
of it.
Take a little bit of
Yeah, of
coffee.
course. Take a breath. She's having a lovely, what is it again?
It's iced latte with the coconut milk.
Iced latte with coconut milk.
It's my favorite every single day.
Lovely. That's what we like. I have my matcha twice a day here, and it's a very flowery cup.
I love it.
It's the most masculine
So
cup I've
those
ever drunk
flowers.
from. The last little foam. Right. The stage is yours.
So because of the childhood that I had and the experiences of my, I would say, premonitions that God gave me, and I would say prophetic dreams. I was born in a Christian family and Orthodox Christian. So for us in Serbia, there was no other, your religion is everything to you.
Okay.
You know? So Orthodox, we are all Orthodox. We all are so connected to God. We are so, I would say no matter, you can be a Muslim, you can be a Christian, whatever you're believing in, it's about the connection that you're finding. But you can be Christian and be mean as well. You can be Muslim and you can be mean as well and lie and cheat. But religion itself is something that is a concept. But I would like to, go to my journey and explore and find God. I want to find God because what I experienced tells me that there is God, my creator. I just want to go on my journey personally and find out who that God is. That was my, I would say, subconscious perception.
Okay.
And that's when my journey started. Now, my journey started really into coming out of the country and exploring every single spiritual practice that I ever encountered in my 20s. So I have started from, breath work and yoga, plant medicine, Went to Peru and Costa Rica, spent time with shamans, spent time with plant medicines, and doing some different practices where I thought that's God.
Well, in a way,
It's a journey.
in a way, it's the way which is God, because everything omnipotent, omnipresent,
Well, that's what I
there,
thought.
here, and everywhere. But it's a journey to lead you to the place of going, okay, because we actually
Aha
met.
moments.
My wife and I met you at a ceremony.
Exactly.
We won't say where, but it was a ceremony.
Exactly.
And you know, we're on that journey too, you know, and it's a point where you just go, okay.
Yeah, but it's just so deceptive when you come into that, because before you kind of didn't have answers and you kind of start to get some answers and you think that's the truth in the moment, and that's where deception for me came, where I went so fully on that I thought that I have the truth of the universe itself because of the plant medicine. And more, I was kind of like, in those circles and more practice I have been doing, I didn't even realize how lost I became. Very lost. And I didn't even realize that because I was helping other people. I was still doing my work in health and everything that, but inside of me, I went wide. I was talking to spirits. I was seeing beings. I was seeing the whole universal lenses that God created. I was interacting with it. Which again, I don't say there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't think it's the path to God, meaning it's not God, it's God's creation. So God created those beings, like he created you and me. He's a creator of the heaven and hell, earth and space and time, but he needs to be outside of space and time. I thought he is that. This is my journey. I thought that because my particles are of God, that he created me, that must be I am God. And that's why Satan wants to pretend that he is God. Now, I didn't believe Satan existed before. I believe the darkness and light are one, and that God created everything. That was my belief system. And more I believed that, more into discoveries I went, and I got addicted to searching for answers outside of this earthly plane. So I want to get more answers and more questions I had, more practices I needed to do. So it's like you need to have this mediumship between God and yourself because you can't get there by yourself. So is that a technique? You need to do a breathwork technique to get there. You need to do a crystal thing to get there. You need a tarot card or a card to give you a message from God. You need that intermediate thing, which you actually don't, but it's a journey to get to God. And I understand that's where we call it, the stages to go towards that are leading you. And then, you need a shaman to get you there. You need a guru to get you to God. You need someone always between to get you there.
And you need something on the outside of you to get you there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you create all these practices that they work. Don't get me wrong, they really work. But they get you into confusion. You get so many messages from different, you can call it energies, that you get so lost and you don't even know it. Because of this sacred knowledge that you got and you interact with, I had literally voices talking to me all the time, and I would know exactly, you have this, and that, and how do you know? And it was overwhelming to have these things. You can call them predictions. They were very elevated in those times. I was in Australia, so long story short, where I ended up in a circle, and I said, you know what, I need some answers, and I'm going to go again into the ceremony. And I entered there, and it was the first time where I actually met the devil, which I did not believe exists. Now, in plant medicine, you need to understand that a lot of neurotransmitters are elevated. Oxytocin, you have dopamine as well. Everything is mixed up to the point that is not normal to human being. That's why you go and enter into different, I can say, spaces and frequencies. Once you end up in those spaces, understand that God created everything in that space. But if you take those things, being spirits, as a God, which you cannot discern, you believe what they're saying to you, it's the truth. We call that spirit guides, we call them angels, we call them whatever it is. But again, there's a mediator between God and you, which is giving you different informations. So once I ended up the ceremony, I end up to the point that, I'm not sure, in Christianity, you fire the candle for the dead, and you fire the candle up above in the church for the live. That candle represents your soul. Now I'm reflecting now back, because in that ceremony, I didn't read the Bible before that. I have not been a Christian. I've been exploring to come to God. I was chasing all the time. I knew God exists. I just wanted to chase and explore and find him. In that moment, I felt this, whatever that was, dark force doing this to my candle. In that moment, I felt I ruined my whole entire life and experienced that. I was still a normal person. Everything was fine from the outside. My life was fine. But inside, I was dead.
Dead. In that moment, to attract that, what was happening the other side to attract it? What was happening in that moment or leading up to that moment? Were you in a heightened place? Were you elevated? Were you feeling the best you've ever felt?
Yeah.
And then the devil came on.
Yeah.
Now, what is incredible about the universe and how duality works, because what you shared is absolutely fundamental for everybody listening, because they're on their journey, and we've been on that journey, and I've confronted some dark stuff. That when we are in a place where we feel the most heightened and elevated, because of homeostasis, we then attract the absolute opposite, the devil, to bring us back into equilibrium. Because we stay infatuated with the light and everything else, it's not sustainable. So the universe, in its wisdom, to bring us back into reality, to see both sides, needs to attract the absolute opposite. So you were in your heightened, ultimately angelic, godly state that needed to bring in the counterbalance to bring you back into equilibrium, which is needed. Otherwise, we will go off the rocker
100%.
Either way, towards too much towards joy, which is overstimulating, which of course can burn us out, or we go into the other place of, say, depression. And with seeing this, and I've seen this in plant medicines, that we go into these sort of situations that, like, I did something. I'll tell you, because
we need to share your story.
I just shared a little one, because when we're in
I need to share everything. You need to share a little bit.
that's why I'm writing the book, because a lot. So, and I share my experience, like, because it sounds similar. When I was in Ibiza with my wife, and Ibiza, there's a certain type of love drug you do, medicine, and we take this, and it would open up our heart chakras to the point where I remember I was doing like a meeting or something the next morning, and they were saying, "Oh my God, you got like this light around you and all this stuff," and I was heightened, very light, and it was all this, I was in that place of, and then that evening I had like the devil come to me in my dreams, and it freaked me out, like
Good.
the whole war, like, I couldn't look, and it was right there, and I was scared to go back to sleep,
Yes.
And then not until like a year or two later, I understood what was actually happening, because I was in that state where it was ultimately a fantasy of myself, because I was light and I felt like this person, that the universe, with regards to homeostasis and within, because sometimes it's outside of ourselves, like the universe sets up situations that brings us into equilibrium, or it's inside ourselves, and the devil most likely usually shows up within ourselves to break that illusion, to bring us back into equilibrium. I didn't know this until a year later, but at the time you think there's something wrong with you. There's like, whoa, you you feel it in that moment because you get attached to that idea that there's that inside of us, which it is. But it's not to be judged. It's to say, that came in to balance me out.
My question to you is like, why it came in?
Yeah. Because...
My answer to myself was...
Why did it come in?
I mean, we're going to continue the story,
Yeah.
but taking stuff to get somewhere is a sin. I'm sorry to say that.
Okay, well, you know what?
Again,
I'm sorry, not sorry. You know,
we're going to go into the narrow path of the Jesus Christ later on, but
wherever we need to go, we'll go.
Yeah,
And that's it.
exactly.
It's like, you know,
Definitely.
whatever. But,
Each of one of us.
you know, because look, nothing, I don't see anything as to be judged because at the end of the
Yes.
day, it's a medicine, it's a
Yeah.
tool. Like anything, if we get too attached to it and we use that as the way and we get, you know, because you joined the groups, you became connected, you probably significance from it. There was a sense of community. And so you felt like whatever was coming from you was actually because of the medicine rather than actually it was yourself. So we sometimes put these modalities, let's call it a modality because everything's a modality to lead us back to ourselves and to see a perspective of ourselves that we have not been able to see. And plant medicines help us see a perspective of ourselves. However, we keep going there to feel a certain way to get a high. Then we look at the plant medicine, we put it up here.
Yeah.
So we exalt it, we put it up there, and we bring ourselves down. And then at a certain point, we need to bring it back into equilibrium because we're seeking it. We start to resent it because we're getting a certain feeling from it, and we're projecting that it's better than us, or now it's worse than us, depending on the degree of our experience. When really it just is. And when you break that illusion of not being better or worse, and it just is, then there's no charge there connected. And then we don't need to learn from those lessons anymore because we've integrated, synthesized, and synchronized the very thing that we were putting on a pedestal or putting now in the pits, that we actually go, everything's just balanced. Because if it wasn't meant to be, it wouldn't have been in my life. Because everything is divine timing.
But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you agree that in Life of Polarity, definitely we have, obviously New Earth is an organic cafe without sugar, preservatives and anything. But we have, companies that they're sugary drinks, they have preservatives, they have emulgators, they have hormones and everything. If everything is just is, why you don't have that in your shop?
Because it's based on values.
Exactly.
Which is, it's neither good or bad.
Okay.
Because I can look at that, because I used to eat McDonald's, I used to eat
100%.
KFC, and I got to say, there were some good times.
Yeah.
But some bad times too.
Exactly.
And it's funny because like the shot we just did and everything else, I used to run a promotion company with friends back in London when I was late teens, early 20s, called Mischief. Mm-hmm. And I read later in the Bible and the Quran that, mischief and fornication, all that stuff like that. Yeah, so I should be in hell. And, but then, I had to go through this journey because there was a lot of synchronicities, and I used to judge every aspect of myself for seeking pleasure, but trying to avoid the pain, which is the ultimate illusion that society is under. Because people think, well, if I can separate pleasure from pain, then I've won the game. But the universal law is it's an impossibility. Because whatever you seek, you'll always attract the opposite to balance you out.
True, but what if you don't seek? What if you're in peace?
Well, if you're in peace, then you're seeking war.
Are you sure? Or you're in peace? You
Well-
just have a knowing, and it's just like there.
Well, the knowing then is love.
Exactly.
Which is, that is when
Exactly.
you've met, because a master is able to see events happening, seeing it not worse than it is or better than it is,
Exactly.
not for good or bad, not for right or wrong, but able to see it balanced and appreciate whatever comes
100%.
because you're love. That's it. There is no, and love is a state of, it's just a state of being. There's nothing to change. There's nothing to judge. There's nothing to hate. There's nothing, it's just about being. But, to stay in that state and be that constantly, as, depending on, like, if you're a monk and sitting on there, it can be seen as easier because it's just you and yourself. But if you're in a relationship and you're married or you have companies, you have
You want to
people
be a
who
human
work,
being in society.
and you're
Yeah.
growing, and you work in a cafe, and there's a problem, and you're like, I come in a cafe, I'm hearing like wind moving our structure, and I'm like that. Stay peaceful, Alex. The more I want to seek the peace, the more there's going to be war around me going, love is to appreciate the war.
But do you think that if there is that unconditional love that we all seek, when you come to that point and you feel loved
Yeah.
by God,
Yeah.
that you don't hear, you don't see, even though it's there?
Absolutely. When you're in that state, 100%. Like, and it's about staying in that state. Because if you're in my seat here, and it's like, there's a certain, I'm running it. I've got to kind of like make sure it's on my shoulders, So being the guest is like kind of like, you know what? Yeah, it's like perspective. It's like, what noise? And I'm like, because I'm able to discern other podcasts. I'm like, I don't hear the whole building kind of going, and it's like, because it's a windy day in Dubai, you know? So I'm like hearing it going, I really wouldn't want people to be distracted by what's happening right now. Jelena's talking, I wouldn't want people to hear like this. But ironically, the more I focus on it, it becomes a problem. And then I bring it into the podcast, quite literally. And then it becomes my reality, which is beautiful that you pointed out, because that is being human.
Yes.
And I know I'm on my journey. I'm not saying that here. Hey, by the way, I've mastered it here. Just so you know. By the way, got a teenage son at home and 11-year-old, never losing my cool. Yeah. And it's like, but the journey and progressing is, how do I make sure to mitigate and clear the path, that there's nothing hindering in the back that I see as more negative than positive. Whatever it is, plant medicine, that somehow it's more negative than no, because you can't have one without the other. So you take the charge out.
I would say depends of who is experiencing it, in which stage of their life they're experiencing it. Are they in it or they're out of it? Again, your values or your perspective changes when you grow. In those moments was the best thing that I ever have done. Now it's not anymore.
No, exactly. But you've grown, you've come to your realization, but you had only got there
because
of that. So then going back to that moment, would you change anything?
Never. You know why?
Exactly.
You know why?
Why?
Because my soul belongs to Jesus Christ itself.
Okay.
When he showed himself in front of me, without any plant medicine, without any technique, without any breath work or meditation, I was sitting in my room without doing anything for a year. After that experience, when I went into car and I was on my knees, first time in probably more than 20 years, I went on YouTube and found an Orthodox church priest who was singing. And I was on my knees and I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I repented for doing what I was doing because it went into a different way. Literally, he smacked all the darkness that was there. Only once I started praying Orthodox, Christian music, and I started praying on Serbian. That was my path. After that, a year from that, I lost all my dreams in a point that they were confusing and emotionally like driving me somewhere. I wake up with peace. I see the curtain like this. I hear the sea in front of me. My dog playing around. Silence. Nothing was bothering me. Nothing was talking to me. Nothing was telling me what's going to happen. Just silence. And I started changing my behaviors. I started changing how I dress, how I think, how I behave. My circle of friends changed. And a year after that, sitting in my chair, without any technique, just literally sitting and started praying, literally the whole room went white and started shaking. And down underneath my knees was Jesus Christ itself, with a beard, with a whole white gown. And I bursted into the tears. And I said, I'm not worthy of you. I have done so wrong. Why am I seeing you? I'm not worthy of you. He said, yes, you are. You repented. And I said to him, but why me? Why me? Why? I'm going to do anything you want me to do. Just tell me. I cried from love that I felt that no matter what, there is someone who loves me unconditionally. And the only one thing he said to me is, follow me. Never read the Bible before. I have never understood what it meant. The next morning I went and bought a Bible, and I started reading my life in the Bible. A whole journey of Satan and God and Jezebel spirit and this spirit. And I was like, whoa, what? Oh my God, I experienced this and I experienced that. And I was in this, and this story is for me. And I just started clicking all the things that I have experienced in my own life in the Bible.
Yeah.
From that moment, he became my salvation king and savior, that I pray, that he loves me so much. He loves you. He loves everyone so much. The unconditional love that I felt and experienced was nothing from Bufo and plant medicine and San Pedro and ayahuasca. Was completely, it's out of this world how much he loves. So once I experienced that, my whole life changed. I changed. He changed my heart.
You know, it's beautiful to hear that, because coming to a place where it seemed like you were going through a really tough time for a year before
Not
he came in?
tough at all.
From the medicine, right?
It was just I haven't gone, so the best thing that I have intuitively again felt during the ceremony is immediately in the ceremony, I put the Orthodox Church music where he showed up in the moment of the battle, not a lifetime. My life was perfect, money-wise, company-wise, relationship-wise, externally. But it's in the soul, in that moment, that I had that struggle of something taking my soul out of me.
Okay.
Like taking out of my soul.
In that moment,
In
with
that
with the
moment,
devil coming in, yeah.
he snapped him immediately with my prayer and my repentance. But if I didn't do that, I don't believe I'll be where I am right now. And I don't know how I did it. Obviously, I was baptized when I was a child. You know, I was in Christian community and we were going to church and praying. But that's when subconsciously it came to me. The only way is Jesus Christ. He can save me. Subconsciously. I had no clue. My conscious mind didn't comprehend why am I calling upon him. But he saved me.
You were obviously conditioned when you were a child around this field. So maybe hearing it, not hearing it.
Yeah.
There was a certain familiarity, certainty, and comfort.
Well, I met Jesus when I was younger. If I remember, a long time ago, I was praying as well, with the prayers before bed and everything.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just so grateful to get to know him and that he came so I can actually experience his love.
That's beautiful, because ultimately, I mean, the New Testament especially, when I read this was many revelations that came from it. And I was reading it mainly in California last year. We were in Venice. And I have to say, I mean, sometimes I was having a bit of a smoke reading it, and I seem to see few patterns within, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is quite intense. And a lot of synchronicities. And I can relate to what you're saying. What shows up, that we look at it, especially what David Solomon said near the end about his experience with women. And this is King of the Jews, right? And I was like, this was what I went through for 5 years. Like, if I just read that before, like, that was exactly what happened. And but I read it, it's so unique because it was actually just a really cool thing to read. Like, it's not even like a religion. I didn't see it. It's just like a really cool story, which 12 apostles happened to witness, and they shared their experience of what Jesus was doing. I was reading, going, "This guy's a badass." He is like, and you know what it is? It's like when we read something like this, or when we see a person, we're looking at somebody that has traits. And it's not about putting them on a pedestal, putting them in the pits like a mushroom, like a person, whatever it is. It's actually to go, I recognize myself in that one. I recognize myself in him. I recognize myself in the devil. I recognize myself in Jesus. I recognize myself in every single person. Because at the end of the day, they're all exhibiting traits that we actually all operate in some manner, in whatever form, one way or another. It's in our genome, it's in our DNA, that all of this information is passed on. It's just a matter of activating what is already within ourselves. And for whatever reason that moment came for you to have that epiphany, for you to recognize yourself in this man who showed up in your life. The depth and the capacity of love that you needed in that moment to love yourself, he then showed up in that form within yourself to go, wow, that's how much depth I have of love, that much suffering I went through that then created a vacuum for something as big as Jesus to come into my life. Wow. That shows I'm a big person.
Capacity of love. That's a big one. Because the capacity for love, you can only have how much capacity you have for yourself to go through dark. That's just beautiful. Yeah. So I would say that every single day from that time, now it has been 2 years. Yeah, I think I'm shifting my paradigm of how I see things, what I believe in, how I behave, what are the concepts of, relationship and marriage and God and work, and everything changed. I don't have any belief system I had like 3 years ago. I can't even remember, how I thought before, but it's completely different what I'm thinking right now and how I behave and how I, capacity for love and understanding and allowance for God to actually show me and talk to me where I need to go, and he actually talks to me. Like now, God is clear. He's never confusion. So for me, it's like I know exactly when he talks to me where I need to go because he gives me clarity. He's clear. His love, his path is clear.
Love is clear, absolutely,
Yes.
perfectly set, because, identified as I'm writing in the book, viewing Alex's life, and my
Yes.
higher self is perceiving Alex's events as not just random and crazy and not to judge, but actually to see the divine order.
Yes.
We all have a higher self, and it's just a matter of accessing our true ego, not to separate from ego. As Wayne Dyer would say, edging God out. There's a true ego. There's something that shows that we are here, boundaries, understanding that we are in this form, our spirit is in this form, that we are all connected when we are living from our higher self, when we're living from our genius, and we actually all have, like our fingerprints, unique values that are actually something that can go into this world and help raise the level of consciousness. I didn't have a Scooby-Doo what that was when I was a kid. Scooby-Doo means clue. It's London Cockney slang. So I didn't know. I mean, I was lost for so long. What did I know, But then something about writing your life. When you write it and you look at it and go, oh my goodness, there's actually a divine intelligence at play here. If it's for me, the divine intelligence, and there's synchronicities for the Bible, to the Quran, to Bhagavad Gita, to Isaac Newton, to... Wait a minute, if all of these souls, and I can see myself in them, and I can see that my life has a path, but before it looked like a mess, that means it's the same for 8 billion people. Yes. That means there is a divine hand here that is governing absolutely everything simultaneously, as it did then, as it does now, and as it will do long after we're gone. And we sit here and go, no, it's random. And I say it because my father is the very skeptical dude. And it's cool. He needed to be as skeptical as he needed to be for me to hit that wall and go, well, we're just worm food. 100%. To then discern and go from one side to the next and go, whoa. Yeah. I'm able to see that actually it's not just random. We're not just worm food. There is something of a higher order here, of an intelligence that is far beyond our comprehension. And it's just like, you know what? My ego then, my lower self, my idiot, as it's called, the one that sits into the amygdala, who thinks that they're able to figure it out and they know everything, is actually what gets in the way. It's just about learning, there's the higher self. Once I learn how to get out the way, it's not then trying to move mountains. The mountain will show up wherever you need it to show up, because the higher self, the spirit in that realm, things just work at a different capacity. And things like this, what we're looking at, just seem to take care of themselves. It's not even we have to do anything.
So true.
And I've got to say, I'm a pretty lazy guy, but I'm not at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I can see the most efficient and productive way that's practical,
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than knocking my head, because I've done that a long time. Go, oh, shift a little bit there.
Yeah.
Ah, there you go. The answers are always there, depending on how resourceful we are. But we tell ourselves a story that we can't and everything else, and then we can't see what's right in front of us.
So true.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think the concepts, that we can call them belief systems or prisons in our mind. And coming back into health, the prison in your mind that you have about yourself. We can go into the therapy and somatic therapy that, the childhood experiences in somatic body that you experience with your mother, with your father, with your, in your nursery, in your school, shape your subconscious mind for your conscious mind. We all know that we're like a little sponge when we are 0 to 5, and even in your mother womb, you're actually experiencing things, and you're collecting the vibration, collecting these frequencies to shape after your thought process. So when for example, there is a misunderstanding with your mother or your father, and I always share this story because it's such a dear story to me. We all have a certain parent that was more, I guess, stricter or more angrier and more like, come here, I'm going to just,
Well, to balance us out.
to balance us out. But sometimes as well, there is that inner child that just wants to be understood, and maybe the father was not there, the mother was not there, or someone was not there to actually understand you or listen to you or to actually pick up what do you really mean? What do you say? Are you really in struggle? Let me help you out. So the capacity that parent has for the child is that if that parent can have capacity for themselves and their darkness, only then they can actually have capacity for their children. So if I, as a parent, don't go through my stripping and I go dig deep and I go into that darkness, I'll project that onto my children.
100%. I mean, look, I came into my wife's life just before COVID, and she had 2 boys.
Uh-huh.
So there I am, straight in the deep end, right?
Yes.
And I'd been learning about this stuff. Like, I've been preparing myself to a degree, like to jump in straight at kids level, not baby level, but straight up there, from 7 to 10 years old. They're already learning, like you kind of have to be very mindful to what you say. And so I relate to this a lot. And much as I was reading books and everything else, you don't get it from the books.
No.
And, plant medicine actually helped a little bit in that regard at that time, just to see things from a different perspective. That there were certain things in myself that I hadn't confronted yet. And then medicine was just showing me. I guess that's how it balanced me out, because it couldn't really get me too high, because it kept making me confront parts of myself that I needed to share, but I was just too unequipped to be able to do so just at that time. I just couldn't do it. We were holding a lot together at that point. But absolutely, when I would work with clients, when I used to, coach, this was my thing, I would say, the relationship you have with your parents is what you have with life.
Yes.
And the relationship you had with your childhood is what you have with the world. So I think I actually termed that the wrong way around. The relationship you have with your parents is what you have with the world. And the relationship you had with your childhood is what you have with life.
Yes.
So if anything is unresolved with your parents, because that's where it stems down to, and within your childhood, will be projected onto your children. You will see certain things that you don't like because they're unresolved aspects of yourself at that particular age that they're just showcasing you. And they're acting in a certain way to challenge you, for you to confront aspects of yourself that you've yet to love at those stages of development, because we're holding on to a story of something that happened then that we think under some illusion that our dad wasn't around, so we didn't get X.
Exactly.
But with the universe always working in duality, and it's always meeting our needs, it just shows up in a different form. Then we can go ask ourselves, well, is that really true? If my dad wasn't there and I thought I was missing this, where was I gaining it instead? Where else did it show up? And once we actually ask that question, we look back, we can see that nothing was missing.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of perception. But we tell ourselves a story that something was missing, because that's what we hold true.
But in that time as well, as a child, you don't comprehend that thought process as you do now. So even though after 30 years, 40 years of you going back and reflecting what your dad didn't give you that you missed, like love or compassion when you needed, that inner child still lives within you, and we need to visit that inner child.
I 100% agree. I'm not
Yes.
saying that
Yeah.
me as that
Yeah.
6-year-old went, you know what I think is going on? I think you're my mother, you're not well, I know that, but no, that form did show up over here. So in fact, I would love to have been like that, but because I wasn't, my life went in a direction until I got to the place to go, oh, there was nothing missing. However, what the heck happened to my life? The fear of abandonment, all these scare, and it's just. But when you get to the place where you see the divine order, it's just like, oi, if only we knew this. Somehow, if it was just told in plain English at school, here's the universal, here's the book of life, in a form, and it could be the New Testament, Bible, the Quran, and that's why we have religion. However, there's a lot of discrepancies, contradictions, because that's why people can use these books to their advantage. Some can have different viewpoints, but use it to what they want. The one that I felt most centered was the New Testament. I really felt like that was just a book of light. And I went through the Bible, the Old Testament, and I put little post-it notes of all the judgment and what were deemed as negative. And it was a lot of notes that was showing, wow, that's heavy. But the New Testament, I was looking for the light and the love. It was a lot of notes of the light and love. But what Jesus was coming along to actually encompass and show, like, here's the way. Because a lot of darkness and judgment at that time then created this other being to bring it into balance, So when we see this synchronicity, and I am in awe of that. And I just think to myself, here we are sitting in the New Earth cafe. Feels like the New Earth, doesn't it? Trees, Barari, the wilderness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the Bible, right? In the wilderness. And it's known, Barari means the wilderness.
Yeah.
In the New Earth, you're on your journey here to be able to just walk distance to come here. We've got a self-love store as well next door. I'm not sure how that shows up yet, but it will show up somehow. And we're having this kind of conversation. It's a reality that people talked about in the scriptures. But with the help of technology and this exponential growth that we're in, we're able to live in that moment now and not wait for the afterlife. And not wait, I'll put it off until then to be a good person. How about just showing up now in your most authentic, loving self? You're from your highest self and go, right, how do I just step out now into the world as is and have these beautiful, enlightening conversations? Because it feels like we're in a place that we're not about surviving anymore, which we've only been ever doing for the last 4 billion years, which is in our DNA. That's what we know, But now we're coming to a place of like, wow, if it ain't about surviving, which kind of is meaning for life, if we're surviving, then we understand why we're here, because we're here to survive. But if we're not anymore, whoa, what does that now mean? I have to take responsibility, I have to figure out like who I am. That's scary. I have to deal with all my own past traumas. Not only that, all the stuff that's within my genome and my parents' traumas that they may be holding that passed down into their cells onto me that I don't even realize. There's a lot of work
to live in.
Exactly. Buckle up. And Dubai speeds that. And the fact you've been here for so long, because Dubai is like a spaceship in the sense that it just speeds up all of your karma and all of your projections, because it has everything here. So it speeds up every aspect of yourself because you can have everything from the angel side and the devil side. You know what I mean? Dubai offers everything. And all the fantasies can come true. And then you're met with, if I have everything and I still feel that way, then what is it I'm actually looking for? And then you confront that void.
Pandora's box.
Yeah. And then you confront that void, and then the journey really begins.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, we can go on like so many different ways talking about, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And, different journeys that every person is encountering. But I just want to say as well, everyone who is watching, you're never on a wrong way. You're just on the way that is leading you towards your best self and towards God. Like, there's no wrong way, and there's no that point of like, yes, you're going to be lost. You're going to feel darkness. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to have depression. You're going to go, we are human beings. But let's sit in silence. I would first, number one, before entering to any therapy, before entering to any functional medicine practice to actually understand how your body works and how to mentally unfold your mother and father trauma and inner child, I would just say, go on your knees in humility and call upon God. Let him just show you and let him show himself to you. And then from there, just continue what he's saying. Because he's breath of life. Like he breathes into you. He breathes into you. And if you don't have breath of his breath, you're dying, like we said. But let him show you. And he will show you and he will show up for you. And then after that, let's go. Okay. If God shows me, the person, like you said, will show up in front of me. When I'm ready, the right practitioner, the right therapist, the right Earth Cafe, the right restaurant, the right purchase of the house will show up. Because God is your provider. He is your savior. You feel love. There is no person who can fulfill those things. There is no what you wear, what you buy, where you at that can fulfill those things. Only God can fulfill those things. Once you do that, everything else can flow from that natural order in flow and in peace. And then you will just know, oh, God sent that person. Let me just like embrace that, be grateful, allow. What's next? Let's explore this relationship. Where is it leading me to? But as well, the other side, okay, what is God discerning me to have boundaries with as well? Because he as well gives you boundaries. Because if we're all going into people pleaser mode, if you're all going, everything is love and light and everything is good, and
Well, the universe is going
Then-
to bring you the other side to bring you back into balance.
Exactly.
So let's not wait for that moment. It's like I'd rather not wait for the cure, prevention,
Yeah,
to prevent that. And
exactly.
it is bringing yourself back into equilibrium. When you
Yes.
feel like yourself is proud or you feel like, I want to be over nice and everything else. Because then you're ultimately suppressing the meanness.
Yeah.
I learned this recently from Dr. John D. Martini. I'm going through a whole prophecy experience
Yeah.
at the moment. And it's intense. And he said, like, whatever emotion, because emotions distort reality. So if
Yes,
I'm showing
100%.
happiness, I'm actually suppressing sadness.
Amen.
And if I'm expressing joy, then I'm whatever we express, we're also suppressing its opposite, which is quite, unless it's love, which is,
Ultimate.
ultimate,
truth.
the ultimate.
Would you say it's an ultimate truth?
It's the ultimate truth. Because love is balance.
Yeah.
Love is equilibrium. And the universe is always leading us to love. So, and we can call that God. Because that is, everything's there. Even the illness, everything, even the drama, even the war, even the peace is leading us into equilibrium. To make sure it's like, oh, here we go for the evolution. And it's a scale. That's like, everything's always, and as much as we try to take more from something else, the universe go, well, no, and something will come along and bring you back into homeostasis, into balance. And just seeing that unfold is an absolute miracle in itself.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying about not having to do anything or try to, the master lives in the world of transformation, while everybody else lives in the fear of gain and loss because it's an illusion.
Yeah.
But seeing things just transforming, there's no loss, there's no gain. You're just like, okay, that's just changed. But to see that in the moment and not be triggered emotionally is a journey, is for everybody. And I was the absolute furthest possible human being from that place. And I'm coming to the place where I'm a lot closer to it now. And this is why I have the alchemist station at the bar, because it's a reminder of these things, that we're alchemists, we're able to transform, and we're seeing this, that we're able to actually create this. Once we access that, the God power, the God particle, the essence, the divine. I had a question I wanted to ask, and if we were to turn your life into a movie, what kind of movie would it be?
That's a very good question. I wouldn't say back to love, but love. Like that's the only thing that I have. Maybe that's what comes to me. Back to love, back to truth. path to truth, path to love. Yeah. That's what comes to me.
Yeah.
I'm just
So
like,
what category, what genre would that be?
oh, that.
No,
Oof.
no, it's not.
Oh,
Just
I have no
to
clue.
follow on from your
I have no clue. Definitely some type of like explorative, I don't know, explorative movie, exploration. Of course, definitely like, to show how your psyche works, how your mind works, how your emotion works, and how that person goes through that with God, in every single aspect of that journey of that human being. Like that type of movie.
yeah, that one.
You know what I'm talking about.
What kind of, so imagine a soundtrack to your movie, like to your life. What song comes to mind?
It comes prayer. Prayer comes to me like how you have the light, and there's a darkness maybe down on the earth, and you have the light shining atop upon, like, I'm here. And then, hallelujah. I think I created it already. Who wants to make a movie?
Oh, dear, that's
Finally, you came back home, my child. That's the movie.
That's cool. Well, it's interesting to see how you see your life, because ultimately, what is this all? Why is this fascination we have about entertainment and movies and projection? A lot of tools that I learned from modalities from NLP is imagine watching your life on a screen, because then you pull yourself out of it and you get a different perspective. So when you see your life as a movie, and I have been doing, I used to be an actor, right? This is what I used to do. I love movies so much, I got into it. And then the last few years, I've been watching certain events unfold that have been rather movie-esque, let's say. This is why it's going in the book. And we are sort of a few characters around us going, what character would play you? Because it's interesting when you don't, you pull yourself out of the situation. Because when you're so in it, like when you did the medicines, you're so in it, you lose yourself rather than actually going, right, let me take 100%. A bird's eye view.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see your perspective, how you would see your life as a movie, because, that's the story we tell ourselves, and everybody has their unique story. In fact, when I started looking at this duality thing, I mentioned this before, that, we're matter, right? This is matter. So the opposite of matter would be seen as antimatter. So if antimatter and matter, what happens when antimatter and matter combine? It creates photons, and photons are light. So we are observing. I'm not a scientist, and I could be talking complete rubbish here. What we're observing is matter and antimatter coming together to create light. But we're neither matter or antimatter. We're the observers of this. Exactly. So we're not from this world, and we're not from the other world. We're from a unique world that we can see these things and witness our own story and witness this incredible love, God, the divine, that's manifesting through us as a projector onto a screen. And we're observing this reality unfold. So we're not in it, and the suffering is that we think we're in it, and that's where the pain is. But when we actually step back into our higher selves and go, oh, wow, I'm able to discern. Oh, I can actually say, I want to, I get to have a chance. I don't have to do anything, because I'm not run by the amygdala, by the body, by this machine. Actually, I'm realizing I'm able to. And it's like, and then when you let go of that as well, and go, well, this is a self-driving car now, because like we're evolving our consciousness. Then we're not even driving. It's just trusting the hand behind the wheel, the higher self that takes over and goes, I've got this.
I have a question for you. What is higher self?
Higher self is known as, there's many names. So higher self, the telos, the true ego, the ultimate, right? It's the genius activated when you're living your highest values, that you know thyself, that you've come to a place where you see the divine order and you trust. You trust in yourself, you trust in the divine. The higher self is the ultimate. It could be seen as God, let's say. God, the infinite, but that's the intelligence, but that's what we're all connected to. Your higher self, his higher self. Once we activate that and we come to that place, then we can go, wow, if I'm getting out of the way and I'm just observing and things are happening, then God is living through us, omnipotent, omnipresent. He's experiencing life through us, but that's what he gets to do. He, she, it's not a form in that regard. It's about consciousness. It's about experiencing what we're experiencing. And he's able to do so simultaneously through every single person's eyes on this planet. No matter what you think you believe in, that essence is experiencing life through us. And otherwise, how would it be able to govern every single one of us through these universal laws? Through evolution, through our genome, through collection of over those billions of years, it's able to experience and know how to keep things into balance. It has to be experienced life through us. And that's when we step out the way and we actually allow that to come in. Then we're able to move mountains.
So when was the last time you questioned your beliefs?
Just before brushing my teeth this morning.
Love
No. My beliefs, it's a very good question you asked that, because I got to say, I don't really hold much belief about anything. Because I think a belief is like this table. It can be quite wobbly.
Yep.
And if we have a belief in something, then it's somebody could take out a leg and that table falls down.
100%.
So it's not like I believe, because I think that can limit my journey. Because if I hold a belief, then I'm not willing to hear another one, because I want to hold on to that belief and go, no, that one doesn't make sense. And I've seen it. A belief is a side.
Yes.
It's a sort of...
And creates a division.
Yeah, and it creates a division, separation. And I've been that road. You look at politics, and, I'm looking at, Donald Trump, and then you got Joe Biden, and then you've got, and all these people. It's so easy to be pulled into that game, So easy to be pulled into the place of belief. Well, no, this one is because of information. Yeah. But then you get new information and your belief changes.
Exactly.
I mean, how many, from your belief when you were a kid to what it is now, I'm sure it's changed.
Definitely.
Right? And so I see it as a limitation. Yeah. But I can see why we hold on to beliefs like we're holding on to a blankie as a child. Like there's a certain comfort in it, because it gives you a bit of security, certainty. And when anybody challenges it, we can see another side of somebody quite quickly. Yeah. Somebody could be peaceful and loving, say, I believe in God, and you challenge them. Yeah. Suddenly the devil comes out and you go, oh, okay.
During our lifetimes and experiences we are having, we will have our truth in that time. So you're going to have your truth, I'm going to have my truth, and eventually that truth can change over time because of different experiences, that lessons we learn and growth we have, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. What is the truth? Is there a truth? How can we find out the truth? Are we able to find out the truth?
I think the truth is dependent on the capacity of what you're willing to accept and what you're willing to hear. Because too much truth can be overwhelming, and it can actually cause more harm than good. In the sense that somebody's not ready to hear it. They will perceive it. They can perceive it as an attack. They internalize it to mean something about themselves that they're just not willing to confront yet. And I've been there. My wife will share something of an observation, and I knew at the beginning, like, it was hard for her to be able to share anything because I was sensitive. I would hear it and I'd make it about myself, which I learned from my father. And when I went to see him after not speaking for a little while, and it was in Rome, and I'm putting it all in a book, I came to him untangling the vines, is how I put it, and said, I am you, and this is how. And at the end of it, like, he actually asked me the question, how do I not make it about myself? And I thought, wow. I was like, my God, that's me. A breakthrough. And I was like, and I just gave him a hug. And I was just like, that's love, because I recognize myself in it. Because when I go, my dad always makes it about himself, he's so selfish. I'm talking about myself. That's why that's why I resent it. That's why I don't like it, because he's mirroring me.
Exactly.
And my wife would say it, and I'd be like, how am I making it? It's a blind spot. Yes, I didn't realize how much it is. So when she was saying the truth, it was so too painful. Yes. So how can I know what the truth is if when I hear it, it hurts and I don't want to hear any more of it? So when you're able to hear something be around something where the truth is showing up and it doesn't affect you, then that's how you really get to the truth.
Yeah.
When it doesn't elicit an emotion
Yes.
that you can hear it and go, no effect.
Yeah.
I can love this.
Yes.
But getting to that capacity when you only recognize that not as a monk on a mountain, which they're doing what they need to do for their overall consciousness. In the relationships is the most confronting place.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
And when you get there and the truth can be shared and they can tell you, and you know what I do? So it's like Marcus Aurelius, right? You know Marcus Aurelius, a Roman.
Yeah.
And there was this line that I remember hearing years ago, and how he'd go through the middle and the Romans, emperor, and everybody's going, Marcus. And there I am fantasizing, and somehow Marcus Aurelius going, with my cap on. And it's when he said, because he understood the universal laws, and he had somebody he hired to say to him, whisper, "You're just a man. You're just a man." And that was like goosebumps when I hear, like, how did he know? Like, what? Like, humbling. Like, this man is why he's Marcus Aurelius, This is what put him there. So when my wife challenges me, especially when I'm heightened from something like this and it's all going like this, and she comes in and challenges me, before I'd be like resenting that for some reason. Like, I don't want to be like, I just want to stay in a cool place. I want to be happy, And I go, wait a minute. Marcus could hire somebody to tell him that. Well, I'm not hiring my wife. She's my wife. And it's not like I could fire.
She's there, actually.
Exactly. So in the mornings, I go, we'll go for a walk, say whatever you need to say. I need to be able to hear what I need to hear.
Yeah,
and I walk, and I'd rather have it there than have it from the world to humble me.
Yes.
So if I have it from my wife, who needs to say what she needs to say, and I have to be humbled,
Yes.
then ultimately the world will exalt you.
Yes.
And it's the toughest to hear it from your wife than it is to pay somebody to say to you.
Yes.
And I think that's wisdom, that's hindsight, to foresee the expansion that's happening, and to invite my wife, who is a very big person and spiritual, and you guys must really connect and have a proper, maybe jump on here and have a chat. That I go, wow, if I'm inviting her in, who's a Russian woman who knows how to say the little, sorry for that terrible, my God.
It's so true.
Actually, who can say it, and it's like a man to stand there and go, especially an English rose like myself, wilting, okay. But to stand there and go like this now, like, okay. Not a cactus, but
so true, though. Yep.
And so it's like, okay, I'm walking and I'm hearing it, and I'm like, in my head, I have so much to say. I'm like, bite, squeeze, do something. And then once it passes, because the ego, whatever it's coming out, the pain, it passes, and you just go, okay. You're like, wow, it was not as bad as I thought it would be. And keep practicing it, and keep practicing till the point of it's not there anymore. In fact, she doesn't even need to say it, would be quite something. But she's always there to keep me balanced. Otherwise, the world's going to do it.
Exactly.
So I think that's ultimately what the truth is. When you can hear and be around anything and everything and not have it hurt you or not make it mean something about yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's ultimately the truth, when it's not about you anymore. It's not about me. That's the ultimate truth.
Thing, because during that growth, you always take everything so personally. And it's like, it's not about you. It's just like, look at it from above. Look at it from above. There's so much growth you can actually expand to once you see it from this different perspective. How was the journey, I would say the question, for you when you first time realized that? How was before, I would say, the action or reaction? And how did you realize that? And then after that?
Well, I'm going through it. I'll let you know when I get there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
like, it's because this is all starting, like the new earth. I only really stepped into my power in December.
Yeah.
There was something that happened. It was like, wait a minute, I don't have to do anything. Like, this juvenile dependency, this kid, this was like coming to this place, and it's in our new earth emblem. We have a roadmap. It says inspire, initiate, execute, complete. And I realized that the first year we were inspired, we met.
Yeah.
Then we initiated our new earth to a degree. Inspire, initiate, execute. So we executed what we need to execute. Hence, this is in reality. And then the final layer was the completion. And I was wondering, what is that completion? And Julie said, be careful what we complete, because we met 4 years ago. If we complete, that might be the end of us. And we went through a time where it could have been that way.
Yeah.
It was just like, how is this happening? Stepping into my power, my manhood.
Yes.
Because before I didn't know how to.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck is going on? And, this like, scared me and scared her. But it was like this intoxicating feeling of power that was coming through.
Yes.
And so stepping now into the new year, there's a sense of, okay, the power is not to suppress, not wanting to hear what she has to say. It's being able to hear it and not make it mean something about myself. My deepest fears was that the person I love is hurting and I couldn't do anything about it. But the only thing that was hurting us is she couldn't speak because I made it about myself.
You couldn't hear it.
And I had hearing issues when I was a child.
Wow.
Yeah, grommets, side operations from my
See
life.
how everything is just like matching in the physical.
Exactly my point. The physiology in that, the manifestation of not wanting to hear certain things. It was such a trauma for me.
Yeah.
What is it I didn't want to hear? I know my ears, all these excuses.
Yes.
And here I am deciding to marry a Russian woman who's going to tell it as it is. I'm like, can you just say it softer? Can you?
I'm
just,
not Russian, I'm Serbian, but I completely.
How do I explain it? It's going to be said the way it needs to be said. I'm like, okay. It's taking me some time.
Put some armor here. Like, okay, I'm chained.
Exactly. Sometimes it's like that. I'm like, King Arthur. Our emblem's a shield and a sword. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. But you see, I want to say that about the Adam and Eve when God created Adam and Eve, and He created first Adam. He gave him dominion over everything, but then He took Eve from his rib to be a helper. And this is what the helper really is, speaking the truth. She's leading you towards your own leadership, your own masculinity, towards God itself, with helping. That's what helper really means in the Bible, as a woman, as an Eve. Women believe that helper is something lower than. No, it's actually bringing you higher, because she is bringing you towards the God even more. And God gave you dominion over everything, and to protect the feminine, which is going to bring you the truth as well. So we are together in this masculine and feminine energy to bring each other into the most connected, growth and union. And the only way to get to that union of unconditional love is through those shadows that are going to show up with a woman and a man in intimate relationship.
The yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Can't have one without the other. And you know what? We're supporting each other. And you know what? All these modalities, everything that we're talking about is ultimately leading us to the truth.
Yeah.
It's leading us to be able to hear it, to handle it, to say it, to speak it. Because if we can't hear it, how can we say it?
Yes.
And I used to be a speaker on stage. I used to represent Tony Robbins. I was out there, I was saying as much as I could, and people were hearing and they were working on it, and lives were changing. But the capacity that we can now go from this place of that much truth, we know that we can go to the depths of other people's soul only when we can get there ourselves. But
Amen to that.
the pain that we have to go through to, it's no coincidence my surname is Roseman. So rose and a man. It's the man that rose. It's the thorns, but it's the rose. It's the beauty, but it's the pain. It's the pleasure and the pain coming together in one. Roseman, And thanks, Dad, for that one, I think. So enough about me talking. Is there anything that you would like to end on that people are watching that, you think that you'd like to share that's the final message?
I think we went through, understanding our consciousness experience, the, emotional and childhood traumas, the programs we have, and I think maybe defensive mechanism we're creating, the walls between each other and in relationships. I think if we go back into maybe health connection to the emotional and mental, if we correlate your diseases or imbalances that people are having in their bodies, and we understand a little bit to separate and understand the difference between conventional medicine and a functional medicine, a holistic medicine, is the viewpoint of how we see it. And I think if you can look at it that symptom that presents into your body is a messenger. It's like, this is what I'm telling you. Pay attention at me. I have something to tell you. This is a message that you need to hear emotionally and mentally and spiritually. And if you don't hear it, I'll continue to give you these symptoms till it doesn't become like a knife in your heart or knife in your arm, in your shoulder, in your back, or in your liver, in your kidneys, in your gut. I'll continue. So if I were to give an example of a story of one of my many clients over the years, let's say thyroid, for example. A lot of women that I work with PCOS or thyroid, most of the time when I enter the therapy itself, after the blood analysis, after I go deep into the hormonal imbalances, I go into organs and bioresonance testings and insulin testings and cortisol testings, and we do everything to look at it from functional medicine perspective, and we do naturopathic protocols and functional medicine nutrition, and we put all the vitamins and minerals back. Now the next stage is a therapy. Now you come to me and we dive deep into what is happening specifically with this certain imbalance you're having. What I'm finding specifically with PCOS ladies, which the PCOS underlying causes are high androgen levels, which is high testosterone, which is the male hormone in a female. The other one is high insulin or insulin resistance, which is the high blood sugar levels. Whatever you eat, whatever carb you eat, your insulin goes up. The other one is cortisol, stress, and inflammation, and you're not able to sleep properly. Symptoms like hair fall, you have acne on top of your chin, you have hair growth as well here, or your hair is falling so much, fibroids on the uterus, and the TSH is usually higher. Thyroid, uterus. It's connected. So now if we go back into emotional and therapy, most of the women who have PCOS are women who cannot express their emotions. They suppress them. Secondly, they don't know how to speak up their truth. Throat. And the last one is a mother wound, or something happened in a childhood with a mother denying emotions or not being understanding to the child as a girl, so mostly like a feminine energy block, or mother had maybe miscarriage before her, or there was some type of mother or sister wound that happened in a childhood. So, or mother died, mother abandonment, mother was at work all day, she didn't see the child. So those are usually the traumas, and the expression of emotions is usually suppression and not being able to be feminine in their own femininity. And because of testosterone, they become more masculine, so they're all CEOs, they have their own companies, they're all high achievers, and they all have high cortisol, they can't sleep, and they usually attract the man who is more feminine, and they're completely in internal turmoil. So it comes to that point that if I address psychological, emotional trauma, and I address my macro and micronutrient deficiencies, I balance my hormones on a naturopathic medicine functional level, everything together, I can heal truly. But if I just look at the symptom of conventional medicine, I go to the doctor and do the blood test, which is saying, well, your TSH it's fine, no need. Because they see it on the edge, because functional medicine, we see it 20% more. So let's say if TSH is in the range of conventional medicine 0.4 or 2.4, let's say 2.4 to 4, we're looking at from 0.1 or 1 to around 3. I wouldn't go even 4. We're looking at inside. So if you are around 3, you already have imbalance for me for the optimal health. If you're 3 in a convention, they'll say you're fine. You're on the edge, but you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. So what I would do, I would go into underlying causes that makes your TSH rise up above, because in 10 years from now, it will be 4, it will be 5. We don't want that. So if you continue suppressing your emotions, if you continue not speaking up your truth, if you continue eating certain carbohydrates that are rising your insulin, and if we continue doing certain behaviors that are stressful, you're not sleeping enough, you're overtraining, or you're doing HIIT workout, you're going to go just higher and higher into imbalance till you don't develop hypothyroidism. So what is actually the root cause, not the symptom? Let's find the root cause. So these are the root causes that can be one of the imbalances of PCOS, the thyroid. And then we can talk about constipation and gut. Usually the gut is where we produce serotonin. That's a lot of depression comes from the gut. People who have IBS, leaky gut, they have constipation, they hold into a lot. So they comes from emotions like holding in anger, holding in resentment, that's liver. So you're holding into liver. Detoxification cannot process. We cannot excrete waste. We cannot excrete toxins from the liver because we're holding onto resentment and anger. And that represents through inflammation, presents through high cortisol levels, insomnia, and anxiety. And usually the HPX is actually disturbed. So you're drinking a lot of coffee and you're on the hamster wheel. So you're just running without sitting and really feeling, because you can't. You're so fast up that you feel so much that you don't know how to stop yourself.
It'd be like a train crash. If you stop suddenly,
yes, everything
so it's
comes
how
out.
to slow down to the point of stopping. Because those people who just think, oh, stop now, they do something, it's just too scary. Because the moment of stopping would actually cause such carnage within themselves.
Yes.
But it's how to slow down. I mean, I've been in London and living that life. I absolutely understand. You say it in such a way that I can tell it's your higher self talking. That you say it, there's something that you value and you come from your heart. That anybody who speaks in that manner and you have these issues, I would go to you because you're addressing the whole.
Yeah.
You're not like a doctor who looks at the symptom and looks at the symptom and puts a plaster on it.
Yeah.
And it's quite surprising that the medical system hasn't linked psychology to physiology. That there isn't a connection there. And I think that's a grave error. And obviously this is where it leads the medical system in the way it is. And this is why we're stepping into something like the new earth way of being, that this whole shift. Because the medical system, ultimately the whole system is perpetuated on illness. It thrives on disease and illness. It keeps the whole thing going. There's so many industries out there. And I said it before that no organization will be willing to annihilate itself. So they're going to have to keep it going. Cancer research is always going to look to heal cancer, but if it heals cancer, it would no longer exist. So it wouldn't want to actually heal it because it doesn't want to not exist anymore. So when you're looking at entities like that want to stay alive, to look at healing rather than to be healed, then you know that they need to keep the illness alive. They need to keep the disease. So they need to keep treating the symptom, not the cause. So when you come to somebody like you who's going, that's not how it works. Let's get to the root cause of it, the emotional, the physiology, the diet, the whole, then you can really start to see a transformation take place. So it's beautiful. I think that's a wonderful way to close this awesome podcast that we've done. I think it's going to be very helpful, informative.
Everything.
Even stars and planets, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
And we're going to put your details on there for anybody to share. But is there anything else, information-wise, how to find you?
Yeah, so we are really active on social media, on Instagram. We share a lot of tips and understanding of the whole functional medicine system and how you can see your imbalances and your diseases. We are having a YouTube as well. It's a health to the doorstep. And Jelena Petelinkar on the Instagram. We can find down the details. But we're really working online on Zoom worldwide. You can send me your blood tests through email, and my team will come back to you, and I can actually have free Zoom call, which is around 30 minutes. I have free Zoom call for everyone, and I just want to hear from you, and then we can go into a full-on analysis. Wherever you're in the world, we can work on Zoom. If you're in Dubai, we're in Barari.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Imagine we're in Barari, and you can come to my home office, and we can do all the other analysis here. We're collaborating with amazing supplement, like from US, Nutridyne, and we're really happy to actually share the health-grade, professional, sources of supplementation, which are herbs and botanicals that I prescribe for every client, and we have beautiful education about it. I educate people about all the supplements and how to understand that herbs and supplements are actually what we're missing in the soil, how the food industry has changed, how we are missing magnesiums, and unfortunately the GMOs and hormones in the food, how to find organic, prime, without hormones, without additives food, how to eat more like your ancestor. And if you're eating just live food that God gave you without packages, without 20 ingredients, and I talk about a lot about, toxins and everything, so you can go through that. I'm super excited to meet you all through Zoom or in person, and we can work anywhere in the world.
Wow. You know what? I feel even more appreciative that you know so much, and yet you come to our cafe so often. So we must be doing something right.
You are.
Oh, that's the lights. Okay. Thank you so much, Jelena. It's been
so
absolutely
much.
honest.
And
There
it's
you go.
an honor.
Awesome and honest and honor. There you go. In love and honor, like our emblem. It's been amazing. Thank you so
God bless
much.
you. Thank you.
That's it, ladies and gents. Ciao, ciao. We vibe when you subscribe.